So in the not-so-distant future, a mysterious matter covers and creates a blanket around the Earth that prevents all exothermic reactions. This means that using heat, electricity, and nuclear as sources of energy no longer work. And as a result, infrastructure shuts down. Food can no longer be produced or transported, and people are left to fend for themselves. The world calls this phenomenon burnout shock. Among the losses, the biggest one was modern weaponry, which no longer worked. No guns, no missiles, tanks, or planes worked after the burnout shock, and so governments started breaking down and losing control as their citizens became more and more frustrated. As crime became rampant throughout civilization, there was one mysterious place that still had an abundant amount of resources. The world called this the Top Zone, and fought continuously over it. Along this fighting, enhanced humans with extreme powers came about and also fought over the Top Zone. Meanwhile, everywhere else dubbed the Death Zone, regular people are struggling to survive. Among these people, some aim to get into the Top Zone and have developed abilities and skills of their own to help them do so. Our story begins 5 years after the burnout shock in an underground shelter with at least 100 people in the death zone. Rai, a red-haired child, is shivering from the cold because he is ill. Rai's mother, desperate because there is no medicine or drinking water, holds him in her arms as tears roll down her face. A gray-haired man who looks to be in his 50s notices this and curses at the situation, saying that the medicine hasn't been in production for years, and that the mafia have monopolized all drinking water. They're obviously in trouble because it also hasn't rained for days. At this moment, a kid wearing a green toque behind the man says that maybe they should get captured on purpose by the mafia so they can drink water and stay alive. The man, appalled, hits the kid in the head and says if he does that, then the mafia would make him eat experimental pills that only have a 10% survival rate. The man says they should just be thankful they can live where they are without being caught. All of a sudden, the people hear loud banging at the shelter gate. The gate is this circular, thick metal door, much like the ones you'd see at a bank vault, but much less secure because there are cracks in the wall all around the door. Immediately, people tense up, and a young man with a makeshift pike gets ready to fight as he stands by the door. Just as the man and people in the shelter gets their weapons ready, a man's voice can be heard from outside the gate. The voice says, "I'm a civilian soldier, with medicine and supplies." As the man outside slips a bottle of water in through the crack in the wall, the young guard with the pike looks outside and sees one man holding supplies. The older man, in his 50s, who turns out to be the leader of the shelter, is confident that one man can't possibly go against all the people in the shelter, each holding their own makeshift swords and pickaxes. And understanding that they need medicine, he decides to open the gate and let the man in. With weapons pointed towards him, a young, well-built man in his 30s, with brown spiky hair and a trench coat, walks in holding 2 bags of supplies, one in each hand. Immediately he says again, "I'm a civilian soldier, tasked with bringing you all to a safe place." The leader of the shelter is skeptical, so he asks the soldier, "Even if you're not familiar with the mafia and there is a safe place, how will you bring all of us there?" The soldier puts down the supplies and claims that he knows the area well, but it is his next actions that leave the whole shelter in shock. He arches his body forward and lets his arms dangle in front of him. Immediately, all the muscles in his body starts bulging and increasing in size, and only moments after, the man is 4 times bigger than before. "I'm a test subject," he says. The kid in the green toque yells out, "I've heard of them before. People who become test subjects to protect civilians." The soldier replies, "The doctor who made me a test subject sent me here to protect one person." He says this just as Rai, the red-haired boy, coughs really intensely. Seeing this, he rushes over to offer the boy and his mom medicine and water. And just as he hands over the medicine, the soldier feels a sharp pain on his left shoulder as if something impaled it. Instinctively, he grabs onto whatever impaled him, and it looks like a thick whip with a spearhead. Without hesitation, he yells, "Everyone, run!" At this moment, the gate bursts open and many more of those spearhead whips fly in and impale the soldier. The soldier falls lifelessly in front of Rai's mom as she screams. In walks another muscular man with a mohawk. But what's shocking about the man is his fingers. While they're still the color of human fingers and skin, the man's fingers look more like sharp claws that extend beyond his knee. He walks in, looks at the crowd, and smiles as he says how great it is to have so many people to experiment on. One of the shelter members with a big sledgehammer is hiding behind a pillar. As the clawed man walks past the pillar, he runs at him with the hammer and swings from above. And just before he hits him, the clawed man's finger extends around his back, and everyone sees that these are the same claws that killed the soldiers moments earlier. The shelter member with the hammer is sliced to pieces as he also falls lifelessly to the ground. The whole shelter is obviously scared and shocked by what just happened, but the shelter leader is the first to regain composure. He knows that if they don't make the first move, they're all probably going to get captured or get killed, so he yells, "Everybody, attack! We outnumber him!" Just as the shelter members begin to charge, the roof of their underground shelter caves in front of him. As the dust clears, what they see immediately crushes all their hopes of survival. In addition to the clawed man, in front of him stood 4 or 5 giants that were each 5 or 6 times taller than a regular human. These were obviously all enhanced humans. As the shelter members realize that all hope is lost, they drop their weapons in fear and hopelessness as they look up to the giants before them. It's this moment when the clawed man notices Rai and his mother hiding behind a pillar. A clawed finger pierces right through the pillar above Rai's mom. What will happen to the members of the shelter? What about Rai's mom? Rai? If you want to find out, go ahead and read the Manhwa Burnout Shock. If you enjoyed this introduction, leave a like below and subscribe for more story-based manga and manhwa introductions.